They are Hollywood's greatest icons, yet they've found themselves in a desperate battle against time. What's frightening isn't aging itself, but the attempt to freeze their image, causing them to unintentionally erase their own identity. The expressive lines disappear, leaving behind unfamiliar masks. If this story sparks your curiosity, comment number 1 right now. If not, leave 0. Don't forget to like and subscribe so we can dive together into Hollywood's darkest secrets. Mary Pickford, America's sweetheart, was not just a star. She was the foundation of modern Hollywood and a co-founder of the powerful institution known as United Artists. Her golden hair and a face capable of conveying 1,000 words in silence made her the uncrowned queen of the silent film era. But tragedy struck when she became an unwilling pioneer of the disastrous pressures of celebrity image-making. That once brilliant icon was gradually consumed by her own fame as every movement, every breath was scrutinized by the public to a suffocating degree. And in the ruthless transformation of the era, Pickford was forced to confront the loneliness of a legend trapped between dazzling light and silent darkness. Around 1933, as Pickford tried to transition her career, she underwent one of the earliest experimental cosmetic procedures. These were not the refined techniques of today, but harsh, primitive methods. The skin was pulled tight, like a stretched canvas, with little regard for natural movement or complex anatomy. The result was a frightening transformation. Her once deeply expressive face became frozen into an unnaturally smooth mask. By the 1940s, after multiple procedures, she carried a permanently frozen appearance. The expressions that once unlocked the emotions of audiences were now trapped behind a perpetual mask. The soul of America had turned into a mannequin. A cinematographer who had worked with her lamented. Each subsequent surgery, instead of reversing the damage, only pushed her further away from her natural self. Pickford withdrew from public life, rarely allowing herself to be photographed, leaving behind a tragic legacy. The very industry she helped create ultimately convinced her that an aging face was a mistake that needed to be erased. Joan Rivers, a pioneer of unapologetic honesty, lived through multiple eras of Hollywood, but her story stands as a case study in the public addiction to self-reinvention. She shifted from a razor-sharp wit to a tightly stretched expression, and tragically that very stiffness became a public punchline, overshadowing her groundbreaking comedic talent. Unlike many of her peers, Rivers weaponized her cosmetic surgery adventures, turning her insecurities into a defining part of her personal brand. She was famous for joking, "I've had so much plastic surgery that when I die, they'll donate my body to Tupperware." Yet that humor hid a deeper truth. What began as image maintenance evolved into an endless pursuit. Rivers underwent hundreds of procedures, facelifts, eye lifts, implants, fillers, all documented in a suitcase she called her reconstruction diary. The relentless cumulative effect transformed her once expressive face into something increasingly artificial. When criticized, she simply disarmed the public by making jokes about herself, but the price was a face almost unrecognizable compared to her youth. According to a makeup artist, the saddest part wasn't what she did, but why she felt she had to do it. In this business, wrinkles aren't character, they're unemployment. Rivers' story stands as a powerful statement about the invisible brutality of industry standards. Although not part of Hollywood's Golden Age constellation, Jocelyn Wildenstein serves as a cautionary figure the industry couldn't ignore. Her transformation went beyond preserving youth, becoming a psychological study of cosmetic surgery addiction. "She doesn't age, she mutates," remarked a leading surgeon, emphasizing that this change wasn't about preservation, but a metamorphosis into something inhuman. Wildenstein's story began with a misguided attempt to please her billionaire husband, who was reportedly fascinated with big cats. From there began a journey of facial reconstruction aimed at creating predatory-like features, sharply lifted cheekbones, slanted eyes, and a flattened nose. Through countless procedures from facelifts and eye-reshaping surgeries to cheek implants, Wildenstein transformed herself into a figure that startled even supporters of cosmetic enhancement. Her case represents the extreme end of surgical addiction, where procedures no longer aim for aesthetic improvement, but pursue a complete, almost species-level transformation. She became a universal symbol of cosmetic excess, spending millions of dollars to create a look that made anonymity impossible. The deepest revelation of this story is just how far self-image distortion can go. Wildenstein became a warped mirror reflecting the dangers many Hollywood legends secretly face, the mistaken belief that plastic surgery can not only maintain but truly improve nature. She embodied the unfulfilled promise that other clients brought into clinics pleading, "Promise me you won't let me go that far." Jocelyn Wildenstein's story is not vanity. It's a psychological study of species-altering addiction. From billionaire wife to horror icon, she became a warped mirror reflecting the destruction that comes from pursuing inhuman transformation. Do you feel shocked or just estranged by this extreme change? Comment 2 if this story haunts you. Comment 5 if it doesn't. Don't miss more chilling analyses. Like and subscribe to the channel now. Zsa Zsa Gabor was more than a star. She was a master architect who personally designed Hollywood's definition of glamour. Her career was built on a fiery personality and a mesmerizingly expressive face. Yet when confronted with the harsh laws of nature, she made an ambitious pact to seal eternal youth. Ironically, this bold decision became a double-edged sword. In her attempt to freeze time, she inadvertently sacrificed her greatest weapon, the soul of her expressions, turning a once-speaking face into a silent portrait. As one of the pioneers exploring the frontiers of cosmetic technology since the 1950s, Gabor lived by an extreme aesthetic credo: better to be beautiful in illusion than faded in reality. She willingly became a living artwork, allowing artificial interventions to coat her like a thick layer of lacquer. As a veteran photographer once described, observing her was like admiring a beautiful painting locked behind eternal glass. Gradually, natural vitality gave way to a smooth exterior, and the price was the disappearance of subtle emotional nuances from her face. By the 1970s, the consequences of this beauty race became strikingly evident: a face seemingly locked in perpetual surprise and a smile confined to a predetermined frame. To mask the immobility of her features, Gabor employed dramatic distraction tactics, oversized diamond jewelry, and more lavish costumes than ever. A director who worked with her revealed that the film crew had to completely adjust their shooting techniques, using sound and body language to fill the gaps when her face could no longer convey natural emotional resonance. Until her final moments on life's stage, Zsa Zsa Gabor maintained her proud posture, becoming a living visual dossier of the desire to triumph over aging. Her story is not merely personal, it reflects a deep, somewhat tragic belief of the era, a woman's value tightly bound to youth. In a desperate effort to preserve her beauty brand, she inadvertently erased the unique features that made her name. It serves as a profound lesson on the fragile boundary between maintaining beauty and losing oneself within a flawless yet soulless facade. Tony Curtis embodied the new masculine beauty of the 1950s, charming with features nearly perfect for romantic leading roles. His presence in classic films cemented his status as one of the most captivating leading men. Yet the tragedy lay in the betrayal of the very efforts to maintain that beauty. From afternoon idol to wax figure, a critic remarked. Curtis's surgical transformations begun later than his peers ultimately turned him into an artificial mannequin, an approximate replica of himself. Cosmetic surgery on male faces presents a unique challenge when surgeons apply techniques designed for women to thicker skin and stronger facial muscles. The result can be strikingly artificial. By the 1990s, Curtis's once flexible face had become unnaturally smooth and taut, creating a bizarre contrast with his age. The shiny, stretched skin from multiple facelifts flattened his previously sharp features. What made this deeply ironic was that these changes coincided with his artistic revival as a painter, creating emotionally expressive works in the expressionist style. It is profoundly striking to watch him discuss his emotionally rich paintings with an almost motionless face, as if all the expressions of his soul had been transferred from his face onto the canvas. Curtis never publicly acknowledged the interventions, creating a strange gap between the image he saw in the mirror and the reality perceived by the audience. He will be remembered in part for his altered appearance, which overshadowed his true talent. The tragedy lies in the fact that he never needed it. He could have been a naturally handsome older man. Linda Evans. The star of Dynasty represents a cautionary tale of the dramatic contrast between original natural beauty and later drastic changes. She chased youth and lost herself, remarked a makeup artist. Evans's early career was marked by fresh, delicate, naturally perfect beauty. At the peak of her fame, subtle initial enhancements gradually gave way to more aggressive interventions after the series ended. By the time Evans reached her 50s, the procedures no longer enhanced her natural beauty, but replaced it entirely. Every time I saw her, she looked less like herself, a journalist shared, and more like someone's speculative version of Linda Evans. The transformation reached its peak in the 2000s. Overly stretched lips, unusually full cheeks, and skin pulled so tight that her natural contours were lost. Tragically, this change coincided with her retreat from Hollywood to pursue a more natural spiritual lifestyle. There is a profound dissonance between her words and the evidence of her face. She is remarkable when discussing embracing the natural cycles of life, while her appearance reflects a desperate effort to halt those very cycles. The most heartbreaking aspect is imagining an alternative choice. With her natural bone structure, she could have become a distinguished older woman whose appearance reflected a full life. Linda Evans didn't need anything. She's beautiful. Period. A renowned photographer expressed in frustration. What happened to her face isn't cosmetic surgery. It's a destructive razor. Priscilla Presley was more than a name. She was once the embodiment of the American dream, a blossoming beauty beside the king of rock and roll. Yet that very dazzling glamour inadvertently wove an invisible cage where the pressure to preserve eternal youth became a crushing burden. Her story is not merely about a star's vanity, but a vivid testament to the desire to freeze time, a deeply human yet perilous aspiration. The wish to hold on to those golden features led her into a labyrinth of pitfalls where promises of everlasting beauty were merely a veneer for darker schemes. The tragedy began to take root in the early 2000s when the quest for absolute privacy led this icon into the hands of purveyors of illusion. Instead of turning to reputable medical institutions, she misplaced her trust in an unlicensed alchemist. In the shadows of secrecy, what was introduced into her body was not the pinnacle of regenerative medicine, but what could be described as cold, rough industrial compounds, a material entirely alien to human life. It was a spectacular and ruthless deception by the black market trade where the health of a legend was exchanged for inhumane procedures. The consequence of that fateful transaction was the collapse of a natural masterpiece. What followed was not merely a change in appearance, but a facial earthquake. The intrusion of foreign substances turned soft features rigid, disrupted natural symmetry, and left marks of damage nearly impossible to reverse. From someone seeking only subtle refinement, she became the victim of a brutal intervention. Her once iconic smile and perfectly sculpted cheekbones, which had captivated so many, now bore the weight of an unwilling mask, a painful reminder of the cost of blind trust. Yet what commands the world's respect is not the tragedy she endured, but how she faced it. Instead of retreating into the shadows of shame, Priscilla chose to stand tall, turning her wounds into a shield of pride. She continued to dedicate herself to art and charity, quietly sending a powerful message. A person's worth is not in the perfection of their exterior, but in the resilience of their spirit. Her public confrontation of scrutiny after the storm stands as the most profound lesson in courage, a stark warning to anyone lost in the maze of unsafe beauty practices. Carol Baker stepped onto the screen like a gentle earthquake with Baby Doll 1956, where a beauty-blending innocence and allure made her an inimitable icon. She possessed priceless gifts from nature, naturally full lips and expressive eyes, distinctive features that set her completely apart from the crowd. A film historian vividly remarked, "She was once the sweet, forbidden fruit of the movie capital, until she chose to intervene on that perfect packaging." It was a golden era when her beauty defined itself untouched by any artificial standards. As her career shifted through the highs and lows between Europe and Hollywood, Baker's appearance began a silent but cruel transformation. By the 1990s and 2000s, the distinctive features that had defined her brand were gradually replaced by what critics called formulaic beauty. This was the result of attempts to sculpt her unique traits to fit a mass-produced aesthetic mold. The tragedy lies in the fact that the effort to become more perfect inadvertently turned her into a pale replica, losing the very soul that once captivated audiences. The most heartbreaking aspect of Baker's story is the complete disappearance of her identifying features. Her once famous lips, coveted by many who would pay dearly to possess them, were adjusted by their owner to the point of unfamiliarity, pressed tight and unnatural. Her eyes, once holding a sky of emotions, are now locked in a perpetual forced expression of surprise. From a unique Carol Baker, she gradually slid into anonymity within the very world that celebrated her. She traded her divinely given uniqueness for soulless uniformity. Carol Baker's story is a vivid and haunting testament to the cruelty of shifting beauty standards over time. It reflects the tremendous pressure weighing on stars. As age approaches, they are forced to erase their unique identity to chase an idealized yet artificial template. Baker possessed a treasure others only dreamed of, yet she chose to relinquish it. This is not merely a tale about beauty, but a lesson on the loss of self when one tries to blend into the crowd instead of proudly shining with their own distinctiveness. Anne Margaret was more than an artist. She was likened to the goddess of rhythm, possessing an innate energy capable of igniting any stage. Her allure was woven from unpredictable transformations, from mesmerizing seduction to subtle humor in a single glance. Because she had such a highly expressive speaking face, her later transformations became all the more poignant to the public. It was not merely aging, but the loss of her most precious tool for communicating the soul. A keen observer bitterly remarked, "The fire within still burns fiercely, but the window through which it shines outward seems to have closed." As time passed, her once rich, expressive stage face gradually gave way to a smooth, taut exterior, devoid of the movement of life. This created a haunting visual paradox. Her body still moved, with the intense vitality of an erupting volcano, yet from the neck up, everything was submerged in the eerie stillness of a frozen lake. The interventions intended to preserve youth inadvertently created an invisible wall separating genuine emotion from the outside world, where her once radiant smile was now confined within rigid frameworks. The mismatch between her body and face posed a difficult challenge for directors and filmmakers. To protect the image of the legend, cinematic language had to adapt. Instead of close-ups capturing every subtle furrow or delicate smile as before, the camera had to pull back, focusing on full-body shots to highlight her physical expressiveness. It was the entertainment industry's tacit acknowledgement of a painful reality. When the features of the face can no longer tell a story, the body must strain to shout the emotions the face can no longer convey. Yet beyond the tragedy of appearance lies an admirable steel spirit. Anne-Margaret refused to let her spotlight fade into the shadows of regret. She continued to perform, dancing with extraordinary energy, even into her 70s, affirming that passion is stronger than any physical barrier. Her story is a profound lesson in trade-offs. The attempt to freeze time to preserve beauty can sometimes strip away the very weapon that defines an artist's soul, the freedom of expression. If the story of the price of immortal images touched you, I have a question for all of you. What do you think is the greatest cultural pressure we face regarding our appearance? Leave a comment below. I'll read and discuss these insightful thoughts with you. These stories need to be shared so we can shift our perspective on aging. And if you want to continue the journey of uncovering mysteries and analyzing the social phenomena behind the glamour, don't forget to hit the subscribe button right now. Turn on notifications so you won't miss our next in-depth documentary videos. Thank you for joining us in confronting the truth behind the velvet curtain. See you in the next video.